90.3 WHPC now presents Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now, learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property, and learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau, a past dean of the Nassau Academy of Law, and frequently lectures to lawyers on ethics and avoiding problems with clients, and to the public on how to choose and use lawyers. This is Law You Should Know on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today we're talking with Andy Cabasso, and he's an attorney and entrepreneur, and he's going to tell us about how to go from attorney and lawyer to becoming an entrepreneur. Perhaps you want to add another mix to your law practice, or want to take a step back from the law, or you haven't found your perfect legal job, and he'll tell us about his own journey and give us some ideas how you, whether you're a lawyer or some other business person, can start that journey. Andy, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Hey, Ken. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about your background and your success as an entrepreneur, and then, of course, after that, how you can guide other lawyers through that journey.
I studied law at Fordham here in New York, and kind of during my second year, I was having some hesitation about my trajectory and the path. I wasn't feeling enamored with the practice of law, but at the same time, I was applying to work at different firms, over the summer and everything like that. And I was noticing a lot of these law firms had really, really bad websites, just like really outdated stuff, like copyright 1997 on the homepage and stuff like that. And I figured there's something I can do about this. I have a bit of a marketing background. I studied business in undergrad, and a friend of mine, my roommate from college, was a freelance developer at the time. And so I pitched to him, let's start working together. Let's do web design and marketing for law firms. Me being a law student, I could speak the language and pitch us to lawyers, and that ended up working out very well. Even though I graduated law school, passed the bar, and started practicing, this business marketing to lawyers really took off. It became a full-time job. I stopped practicing law actively, and then it took off, and in a few years, it got the attention of a larger company in the legal tech space that ended up acquiring us. And it was a win-win for everyone. And then after that, I stayed on for a little while and then moved on to the next startup venture.
And what is your new next startup venture, if you want to share that with us? Sure.
Yeah, the new project is kind of from the experience I had in running a marketing agency focusing on law firms. I had wished that there was an easier way for us and for our clients to connect with other potential partners, potential customers, and basically I built the software that I wished we had. And so the company is called Postaga, Postaga, and it's basically an all-in-one platform that helps you connect with other marketing partners, helps you do outreach for PR purposes, like get yourself to be a guest on podcasts, and helps you find and connect with potential customers as well and things like that.
So this can help law firms or any potential business in those areas?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The main people that I'd say are using our platform are either people in in-house marketing roles, business owners, like whether it's lawyers or other professional services, or brick and mortar or e-commerce businesses, everything.
Now, did you always have those entrepreneur genes, or did they grow after law school? Or
I think like back in the day when I was like in elementary school, middle school, I was always like thinking about, well, what could I sell? Some, like I remember like I would sell like T-shirts or things I would get wholesale, or the statute of limitations has passed on this, so I'm okay sharing this. I'm in my 30s now, but when I was in middle school, I was one of the first kids on the block with a CD burner, and Napster was big, and I'd burn CDs and sell burned CDs to other kids in my class. And yeah, one of my favorite courses in law school was intellectual property.
And why is intellectual property important? To protect your ideas, or to know how to acquire them, or get around the regs?
No. I mean, I've always found intellectual property fascinating. When I was a middle schooler selling burned CDs, I had no idea like anything I was doing was illegal or anything like that until, Metallica went and then sued Napster and all of that business. But I just always found it fascinating, in particular with copyright, for example, and how lobbying has affected the Copyright Act, and how Disney and the music industry had a particularly big effect on the copyright laws being what they are today.
What are the courses in law school either you've taken or you're aware of, do you think can be helpful or important to entrepreneurs?
A kind of a gripe I had, is something that I wish I had better education on in law school, would be related to starting a business. There, at least when I was in law school, there wasn't really a big focus on running a business, even just if you were going to have your own solo practice or hanging out your own shingle or anything like that. Some basic accounting courses would have been super helpful. I've given a lot of CLEs over the years related to internet presence and ethics and things like that for law firms. And I'm shocked at how many veteran lawyers who've been practicing for decades, their technology competency is compared to the current crop and generation. I very much wish that there was a bigger focus on technology competence, on the basics of accounting, for example, that wasn't really a focus and not really emphasized, because law school was very much about, at least, here are the things that you should take that'll help you pass the bar. And then if you're planning to try and go the big law route, you should probably take corporate transactions and stuff like that, really. And
you also learn about the history of law over the last 200 years.
Yeah, fascinating. It's many of us that study law are big nerds, and we like this history and stuff like that. But how much of it is super relevant to running your own practice or anything like that?
And that technologically gap can also create opportunities for people like you who have that background, and even for younger lawyers who may not have that be top of their class or may not have law review. If they have that technological know-how, I think that can be a big selling factor to them in a law firm they work in or interview with, because they can help provide skills that those people may not need and not realize there's a technology gap.
Most definitely. I've seen in a lot of firms over the years that I've worked with on their marketing, for example, a lot of the older lawyers rely very heavily on the younger staff and paralegals to help them, figure out Excel or PowerPoint or something like that. Things that the younger generation of lawyers takes for granted, things related to evidence, for example, related to social media, things that just the older generation of lawyers may not be as familiar with.
And social media itself.
Social media itself, and how these things work. And if you've seen congressional testimony in the last few years about the older lawmakers trying to understand social media, and then social media CEOs being grilled and being what are you talking about? Just dumbfounded.
But also in terms of fact research, investigation, due diligence, social media is just as important as hitting the law books. There's
so much today in terms of the landscape that is critical to be able to practice, knowing what technology and things like that your clients are using. You have to be very well versed in that. But one thing that I think can give a new, fresh out of school solo lawyer ready to hang up their own shingle an advantage over other lawyers, let's say, is having a certain technological competence and understanding when it comes to building and marketing your practice online. In particular, especially with the pandemic and everything, it very much used to be that so much of business was coming from word of mouth, and especially for the older generation of lawyers, business was coming mostly from word of mouth. Over the last couple of decades, as the internet's gotten more and more popular, some consumer-oriented law firms, criminal law, personal injury, especially. There are some firms that are marketing themselves very well online, but now it's becoming more and more critical that every area of law is marketing themselves online, because people, that's where they're going now. Even if they get recommended you from a friend, they're going to check up on you online because they want to make sure that you have expertise in their practice area, that, this is a very critical moment. Whenever anyone hires a lawyer, right, it's usually at a very stressful time, whether they've been arrested or they've been injured or something like that, or they're trying to close on a house or getting divorced. And so they want to make sure that if they've been referred to you, they're going to check you up online because they're going to do their due diligence.
And they're going to judge you rightfully or wrongfully based on what they see on that website. So how does that work out? What can a law firm do to create a better impression online?
The most important thing is, I'd say, have someone who is not a lawyer take a look at your website and just give you their impression of it. Someone who's hopefully would not feel bad about hurting your feelings, because you want to see what it's like through the eyes of a potential client and what it's going to be like when they review your site. I really try and instill this with anyone that I've ever recommended, like when doing an audit of their site. Don't think about the site for yourself. The site is to promote you, but it's to promote you from the perspective and understanding of your potential client so that they get the information that they're looking for. As an example, a really good example here in New York, divorce law is commonly referred to as matrimony law by lawyers, but lawyers are the only people who ever call it matrimony law. Regular people call it family law or divorce law. And so they're going to hire a divorce lawyer, not a matrimony lawyer. And so when they come to your website, they don't want to see matrimony lawyer everywhere. They want to see divorce lawyer and how you handle specific issues. If someone's hiring an estate lawyer, they don't necessarily know the difference between a certain, irrevocable and revocable trusts or anything like that, but they need to understand it in language that they can understand.
And is it going to be important to buy those keywords or something like that, so people will be led to you when they put in those words?
So paying for online ads is a route you can go, but it can be very expensive. In particular, if you do not know what you are doing, I would not recommend just throwing money at it or trying it really on your own without a better understanding of it. If you create an account with Google Ads or something like that because you want to check it out for yourself, what will happen is a Google Ads representative will call you on the phone and they'll tell you that they're a concierge service and they'll help you get set up. That is a fast way for you to spend hundreds to thousands of dollars and get nothing for it. Their goal is to get you to spend money. And your goal is to get new clients and in particular, spend your money effectively and get a return on your investment. So it just as a word of caution, paid ads can be good. They can help you scalably get new good leads, but you have to have one, you have to know what you're doing with creating the ads and allocating your budget and spend, but you also importantly have to have a good intake system so that if you have an ad running at 2 a.m. and someone calls you at 2 a.m, you have an answering service that picks up the phone and helps them out and, takes a message. And then you have a system so that you call them back right away, first thing in the morning. Back when I ran my agency for law firms, we would sometimes see that the ads would be running and the person someone would call and then the firm didn't have an answering service. And so they would leave a voicemail. And when I'd review it with the law firm, I'd say hey, so I saw that you got 10 leads this week. These 3 went to voicemail. What happened to them? And it was if I wasn't around, I was in court, I couldn't answer the phone, but if they were really interested, they would call me back. And that frustrated me to no end because I'm that phone call cost you $400 to get that phone call. If you don't call them back, they're going to go to the next law firm on the list in Google, and that firm is going to answer the phone, and they're going to sign them as a client.
And that's a good lesson for lawyers, regardless of the level of technology, is to return phone calls. It's one thing that lawyers don't always do well and can be very important in acquiring and retaining that client. I'd like to remind our listeners that we're talking with Andy Cabasso. He's a lawyer, but he's also an entrepreneur, and he's talking about how he and other lawyers can go from lawyer to being entrepreneur. And he's told you about the various ways he helps a law firm. So is marketing so important to lawyers, whether it's a solo practitioner or a large law firm? Is that something that we don't learn in law school, but that's really important? Because you can be the brightest lawyer in the world, the smartest lawyer, but if you don't market yourself, you're going to be the poorest lawyer.
Well, it's probably different depending on the environment that you're at. If you're at a large law firm, over time, you're going to be expected to bring in business and network and make rain and all that. But if you're hanging out a shingle, you may be advised by other solo lawyers that, you should join BNI or this networking group to get referrals or something like that. But marketing is just a core part of running a law practice, and it's not necessarily everyone's strength. It's not the most fun part, but you should regardless have some time or budget allocated to your marketing regularly, because without it, that business development doesn't really kick in. You can say all right, well, I'll spend a little time each week. Let's say I know a couple of law firms where they're all right, Friday is my marketing day. I'm not dealing with cases. I'm focusing on growing this book of business rather than working in the business. And I know that it's not like working on cases, you're thinking, all right, this is billable, I'm getting paid for this. But on marketing, it's a more long-term investment that you're making in your firm. But
it's important that lawyers take some time out to market themselves, either for quick returns or for long-term benefits, finding clients business clients, personal clients to plant seeds on how they can be of help to them. Absolutely. And there's, what was that? Jay Foonberg's book, that's decades old, about starting and growing a law practice. That at the very least, networking with your contacts, your colleagues, classmates from law school, just to stay top of mind, so that if someone has a referral that they could send your way, that you're the first person they think of. And now it's taken on newer levels through the internet, through other marketing strategies that you've mentioned earlier. And I'm sure
there are so many different channels now.
But some of those basic ones are important too, just to make sure your name is out there, make sure they come across your name, make sure they know how you can help them. Yeah, absolutely. I will say, though, there are some practice areas, some very specific niche areas that may not be the best for online advertising, let's say, practice areas that are more commercial oriented. Most people looking for an M&A lawyer or corporate transaction lawyer is probably not going to be searching in Google for a corporate transaction lawyer or a tax lawyer or something like that. They're going to get that lawyer as a recommendation from their accountant or CPA or financial planner or advisor or something like that, or a colleague. And so online marketing, I'd say for law firms, there are two aspects to it. There is the online business card that when someone gets a recommendation for you, that they can go to your website and see that you have experience in this area. But then there is the billboard type of law firm internet presence, which is I'm trying to get new customers and new clients. In particular, where that works best is for consumer facing oriented things. So criminal law, family law, bankruptcy, injury, and buying a house or something like that, real estate. And in terms of how can lawyers improve their visibility in terms of to the business client? Is it getting profiled? Is it writing articles in a business publication? A speaking engagement, being a known to accountants and other business advisors?
So all of that. So what I've seen work pretty well is the networking through and forming partner referral arrangements with people in related industries where your clients are. So if you're going after high net worth individuals, you're partnering with financial planners serving high net worth individuals. basically, like when I'm thinking about my marketing, I'm thinking about where is my target audience going and how can I get there?
And is this still some of the old-fashioned networking, being in a part of a breakfast group, a lunch group with other people servicing that type of client base?
Yeah, absolutely. Like in terms of like the like referral arrangements, like and things like that, those usually come through, through networking. I don't know how much in person is happening these days compared to a few years ago, but like historically, that's where that's kind of popular.
And what would you say is a good, what are some other things that lawyers can do to increase their visibility or to join groups that might become their referral network?
I want to think about who is my ideal type of client. What is it that they're interested in? Like, where are they going? Like, what are they doing? What are they reading? What are they interested in? And I want to find myself in that space so that I can reach them and connect with them. If it's like online, let's say like I'm trying to connect with startup founders because I want to help them when they're raising their Series A or something like that, or with their M&A transactions. Do I want to get involved in local startup communities in the city, in my city? Do I want to be more involved in like online communities where I know that my target audience is hanging out? One example, there's one person I know who does video game law, like video game related transactions and intellectual property and things like that. And his big marketing channel is a platform called Reddit, which is a popular online platform where a lot of people that are indie like video game developers congregate. And so he would answer like legal-ish questions in the community, and that helped him build his profile. People began from that online presence, began to know and trust him, and that helped him brand himself to that audience, and that helped him build that business.
Is it good to build some type of blog and to then get traffic directed to it?
Yeah, it can be. If you can be if you have a very particular niche that you're going for, by you creating this content and demonstrating your subject matter expertise, really helps lend credibility to these potential clients. Even if you're writing about something that is very, very specific, I guess as an example, I know plenty of lawyers who I used to be on the ethics committee at the New York City bar. There are plenty of lawyers who represent other lawyers in grievance committee hearings and things like that. And so they have very esoteric blogs about legal ethics issues that there's probably not a lot of search traffic about that, but the people searching about that are other lawyers in need of a lawyer with that skill set. And so having that blog, demonstrating that expertise, having answers to the questions that they're searching online for and coming across those. Well, if I'm searching online for something related to a particular ethics issue because I've been referred to a grievance committee, and I come across a blog post that helps me sort of answer my question, I'm probably going to call that lawyer first. And
along with that, is it also a good idea to do old-fashioned stuff like have your column in the Law Journal, be on a Bar Association program lecturing on that topic?
So the Bar Association programs can be particularly helpful. If your audience, if that is your target audience, if your audience is other lawyers, then Bar Association events can be helpful. But if you're going after business clients or startups or things like that, it's more that I did the Bar Association speaking circuit, and I did it because I was trying to connect with other lawyers as potential customers. And when I saw other lawyers speaking at CLEs and Bar Association events, I was asking so why are you doing this? You're not going after lawyers necessarily, but the idea was, well, I'm speaking at this event at the CLE, even though I know that these lawyers here are not probably going to be doing bankruptcy law in the future. If they have some complex bankruptcy issue related to a client of theirs, hopefully they think of me and then refer me because they saw me speak so eloquently on this subject matter.
And you're also setting yourself up as an expert. You might want to then target the group of bankers or business people and say you've lectured to other lawyers on that topic, and that may help you get you in the door and help establish you as a go-to speaker.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good credential to have. And
it's good practice also, and gets your name out there.
Absolutely.
And I just want to remind our listeners that we're talking to Andy Cabasso. He's a lawyer turned entrepreneur, and he's telling us about how lawyers can go become entrepreneurs. And he's told us many ways how he helps lawyers and other businesses promote themselves and the ways law firms can promote their services. What other things do you think that lawyers like you want to take a different path, want to help other businesses grow or help them with technology or marketing or publicity? How can they take that journey?
Making the transition from law can be scary, in particular if you've spent a long time in law. Yeah, I've spoken with quite a few people who just asked for advice on transitioning out from practice, and whether you've been practicing for a few years or decades. I think like the fear is like, I've got like this sunk cost here. I have a reputation, I have skills, and I worry that my skills aren't 100% transferable to like a new space. And I get it. Like it is scary given like the investment that you've made in your career to this point, but there are plenty of opportunities and ways that you can use, not necessarily just the esoteric knowledge you've gained in a particular area of law, but I'd say a lot of these skills from law school, from practicing, are very transferable. So like in particular, like when I started marketing for lawyers, I was thinking like, all right, well, I have to try and unlearn how law school taught me to write, because that IRAC crack method, whatever, for writing briefs and things like that had been drilled into my head for the last few years. I had to like unlearn that, because I wanted to, in speaking to like my target audience, I want to write in a more conversational, approachable style for them. But I found that no matter what, just there was a certain like analytical mind that law school does provide, and
your knowledge of subject matter as well. You have that law school background. Andy, I wish we had some more time. Just give us your contact information again, and lawyers and others can find out more about your services.
Sure. I'm pretty easy to find online. My name is Andy Cabasso. My website is postaga.com, postaga.com. Like I said, I'm pretty easy to find on the internet. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all that. Happy to help whatever you're looking to do with your practice or market, I'm happy to help.
Well, Andy, congratulations on success after the law. And if anyone would like to hear this podcast again or tell someone else about it, just go to our website, nccradio.org. Thank you for listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC. And please join us again next week at this same time for another program on Law You Should Know.